Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Career Retrospectives. Tonight, brought to you by Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media. I'm your host, as always, Nate. Nice to see everybody. Alongside me tonight, we got Scalz. Scalz, say hi.
How are we doing?
All right. So tonight, we have a little bit of a different one. This one might be a little time-consuming, but we're going to do our best here. We are going to take on the seemingly never-ending career of the poster boy for WCW's heyday, and that is the icon Sting. So, we're going to get into this. I know Scalz is excited for this one. We're going to get into this one, and we're going to be recapping his career to start, so buckle up because it's a ride. There's a lot of shit to cover. So, Sting actually, this I didn't know. Again, I love learning stuff. He actually debuted alongside Jim Hellwig in a promotion called All California Championship Wrestling in 1985. Jim Hellwig is who we now know as the Ultimate Warrior. They were actually part of a four-man faction. They ended up breaking off and going into UWF, where they changed their ring names. He changed his name to Sting, and that is the Sting that we know now. He used to be called Flash. Jim Crockett purchased UWF in 1987, and Sting went to be a part of the NWA. And actually, Sting was a part of the very first match that was ever broadcast on pay-per-view at Starrcade in 1987. Shortly after that, he feuded with Ric Flair for the first time of many times over the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He was unsuccessful, challenging him multiple times, but Dusty Rhodes was pretty certain that the writing was on the wall that Sting was here and he was going to be a megastar. I think we all know that's exactly what happened. Sting continued to feud with a lot of the top names in the NWA, like Mike Rotunda, Barry Windham, and the Road Warriors. And then he ended up actually beginning a partnership with Ric Flair after Flair was attacked by the Great Muta and Terry Funk. So Sting came out, made the save, and then they even reformed the Four Horsemen alongside Arn and Ole Anderson.
It's so funny how things come full circle. With the Great Muta, especially, how Sting was one of the people that helped instrumentally bring him to WWE for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. After becoming the number one contender to Flair's World Heavyweight Championship, Flair actually ended up kicking Sting out of the Horseman faction because Sting refused to surrender his number one contender status. So Flair got pissed and kicked him out. Later that night, Sting actually suffered a very real knee injury. So his number one contendership was put on hold, and he had to wait. In the meantime, Flair feuded with a whole bunch of other people. Excuse me. And Sting actually ended up recovering and then defeated Flair to win the championship for the very first time at the Great American Bash in 1990. Flair eventually won the title back in 1991 at Starrcade. And then that is when WCW then seceded from the NWA to become its own entity. WCW then introduced their own World Heavyweight Championship and World Tag Team Championship. Throughout the mid-90s, Sting feuded with Paul E. Dangerously, also known as Paul Heyman, and his Dangerous Alliance. Guys like Vader, Rick Rude, Kevin Sullivan, and a whole bunch of other super 1990s names. Early 1996, Sting's appearance began to change from the bleach blonde, brightly colored face paint that everyone knew and loved. He started growing his hair out, and there was just a whole bunch of different subtle things that began to happen. And then he eventually, pretty soon, would become part of the feud that would ultimately define WCW throughout its run in the 90s. So the outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, make the jump from WWF over to the WCW. They just attack everybody. They're running roughshod over the roster. Sting is the first person to stand up to them and eventually put a team together to try and defeat them. Sting would later team up with Randy Savage and Lex Luger in a 3-on-3 match against Nash and Hall and a mystery third partner to be determined. The partner did not show up for the beginning of the match. During the match, it was basically a 3-on-2 with the outsiders being outnumbered by the WCW guys. After an injury to Lex Luger during the match, Hulk Hogan appeared and seemed to be ready to side with the WCW side of things. He then proceeded to land a leg drop on Macho Man Randy Savage, revealing himself as the third outsider, and then cementing arguably the biggest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling. Hogan, Nash, and Hall declared their new world order on professional wrestling, and thus the NWO was born. And as we all know, Sting was pretty much their primary adversary the entire time they existed.
That is one day, as you were watching, you will never forget. Like, that's one of those days that if you are a true wrestling fan and you actually saw that live, you'll always remember it. Because the utter shock
absolutely.
of what was happening was just unbelievable.
He was this, say your prayers, take your vitamins, goody two-shoes babyface that's been in professional wrestling for 15, 16 years at this point. Drops a leg on one of the most beloved babyfaces on the planet in Randy Savage and becomes a heel. He was never a heel ever since, the whole rise of Hulkamania. Never. And no one ever thought it would happen. And then there it was.
Just crazy. Craziness.
It's funny how these full circle things come back again, because Sting actually enlisted the help of the Four Horsemen to try and take out the NWO. Ric Flair and Arn Anderson agreed to join him and Lex Luger in a War Games match against the NWO. The NWO was supposed to be revealing a fourth partner. That fourth partner ended up being an imposter Sting that actually attacked Lex Luger, leading a lot of people to believe that Sting had joined the NWO and was actually going to be their fourth man for the War Games match. Sting actually appeared at the War Games match, obviously, proving to Luger that it was an imposter who attacked him. And Sting actually walked out on the match, and the NWO ended up winning that match. Very next night on Nitro, Sting cut a massive, scathing promo, basically expressing disgust and disappointment in Lex Luger for not trusting him better. He then declared himself a free agent and would drop in from time to time. A couple of months later, Sting emerged again, this time wearing a trench coat, black and white face paint, attacked the imposter NWO Sting, and debuted a very new finisher in the process that we know as the Scorpion Death Drop, which is essentially an inverted DDT, but it does look really fucking cool. Ted DiBiase and Kevin Nash. The Scorpion Death Drop. Excuse me. Ted DiBiase and Kevin Nash. Ted DiBiase, who was now aligned with the NWO because a million people were with the NWO at some point, walked into the ring, made Sting an offer to come and join the NWO. Sting said that he may or may not be in their price range, and said the only thing for sure with Sting is that nothing is for sure. And he did not speak on a live mic in WCW again for over a year. And then Sting went full out with this new look. He decided to cover his entire face with paint, the black and white crow paint, and started appearing in the rafters with a baseball bat. He would drop down, attack members of the NWO, and save wrestlers who were being attacked by the NWO. And I'm sure Scalz remembers this, but do you remember the loyalty tests that he was putting people through, where he would pretend to attack them with the bat and see how they reacted?
Yep.
Those were the people he saved from the NWO. So awesome, awesome storytelling, honestly.
He would act like he was ready to hit anybody, and if they flinched, that was it. Do you remember the first time he debuted his new music?
I don't. I was very young.
So it was, I believe it was Starrcade, wasn't it? 92? No, not 92.
Yeah, I wasn't alive.
It was Starrcade. He was up in the rafters, and music just hits, and then it's a little girl talking.
I think it was 96, 97.
Sorry. Starrcade. And he was just up in the rafters, and a little girl starts talking. And it was the most chilling thing you ever listened to, because nobody knew what the hell was going on. And then the lights go out, and then there's a freaking vulture on the ring ropes in the ring. And that was just insane. The crowd reaction, the entire reaction of the NWO that was filled with them, there was 12 of them at the time. This is when the group started expanding. It was crazy.
Fucking Will. But yes, I've seen the video with the Vulture. I didn't realize that was when he debuted brand new music too. Will, feel free to join us if you want. Sting actually credited Scott Hall with the idea of using the resemblance to the Crow character from the film from 1994. He credits Scott Hall with that idea. So later on, Sting actually joined a group called the NWO Wolfpack.
That's my favorite Sting.
Alongside Kevin Nash, who recently left the NWO, Lex Luger, and Conan. I kind of abridged a lot of things around here because there's a lot of shit to cover. The NWO Wolfpack did not take up a lot of time. It was very quick and yes, love it.
I just got an email from Shadow today. It's great. I've been waiting for this for over a year.
Sting actually disappeared for a very long time after the short Wolfpack storyline. I don't remember if it was because I couldn't find anything. I don't know if it was injury or just a hiatus or something like that. I don't know if you guys know, but he was gone for almost a year again. And then when he came back, he worked as a solo competitor pretty much for the rest of his time with WCW. In the late 90s and early 2000s, he had a lot of feuds, very high-profile main event feuds with DDP, Goldberg, the Steiners, Sid Vicious, Randy Savage, and again, Hulk Hogan. And the actual final match in the history of WCW was a match between Ric Flair and Sting. Sting won that match, and the two hugged at the end of the broadcast, which is kind of poetic justice because on the very first episode of Nitro, Ric Flair and Sting also had a one-on-one match, and they had so many of them throughout WCW's history. Like, if there's any other rivalry that could define WCW more than Sting and the NWO, it's Sting and Flair, honestly. And honestly, Sting and the Four Horsemen altogether. WWF buys out WCW. Sting's contract is not picked up by the WWF. And instead of taking a buyout from Turner Broadcasting, he decides to just let it expire and actually announced a retirement. Very, very short-lived retirement. It was like a year and a half. He made a couple of appearances. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's not that they didn't elect to it. He refused to work for Vince.
Yep.
He would not work for Vince in any way, shape, or form. He refused to show up.
Yeah, he
so
didn't.
They wanted him to honor his contract and come there, and he was refusing to do so. And that was like the first.
And then
that was like the first time, like you actually saw what wrestling meant to him. Like he thought WWE was not wrestling.
Right. Which kind of makes a lot of sense too, in that obviously there's always the never say never, which we learn all the time that there's a never say never. But for, over 12 years, 13 years, Sting was pretty much the only WCW holdout that didn't show up in WWE. But we'll get to that. He had a very successful career that WWE ignores in TNA. He signed with the fledgling promotion, and he quickly became one of the biggest faces in the promotion. I spelled promotion wrong. Good job, Nate. And he did a huge, huge favor to so many other younger guys. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christian Cage, Christopher Daniels, Abyss, just to name a few. He helped put those guys on the map. Sting is so responsible for the early stages of those men's careers in Impact being the successes that they were. Sting is a huge part of that. Sting went on to win 5 world championships under the TNA Impact name and then left the promotion in early 2014. Late 2014, at Survivor Series, something that we thought was never going to happen, happened. As Seth Rollins and Triple H were looking to defeat Team Cena following the 412th Big Show heel turn, Sting appeared in his crow paint, attacked Triple H, dropped him with a oh my God, I almost said a diamond cutter, a scorpion death drop, and then allowed Dolph Ziggler to pin Seth Rollins, ousting the Authority from power. which right on par with the character Sting always had in WCW, always helping out the little guys and being that anti-hero, essentially. After various run-ins with the Authority and even assisting Randy Orton in fending off an attack, Sting faced off with Triple H in a no DQ match at WrestleMania 31 in his very first ever match under the WWE umbrella. Yes, I did forget Joker Sting. I thought it sucked. Just kidding. It was great. The Joker Sting was fantastic. I didn't see a lot of it when it happened, and I couldn't find a whole lot of material on it because it wasn't something that lasted very long. Right?
It was honestly fucking fantastic. His Joker Sting character.
Yeah, it was great. He was fucking unhinged, and I liked it.
The way he would just creep out Hogan and Kurt and just.
The other thing you forgot, Nate, was about the Main Event Mafia with Sting in it.
Yeah, I tried to condense this as much as possible.
I know there's a lot that he's done.
I wasn't super familiar with. But if you want to talk about the Main Event Mafia, let's go.
So the Main Event Mafia with him, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, like it was so awesome because it was different than what he normally did. He got rid of the face paint and he was Steve Borden. Like it was something you never seen him do as a character. And it always had some face paint on at some way, shape, or form.
And it was like an actual it was like the first time he really had a heel run in TNA. Like he was kind of like a tweener, but he was still toting the line of a heel in that faction.
And who else was in it? Was it
Kurt Angle and Booker T?
Was Chris Masters in it?
No.
There was another gentleman, I can't think of who it was, that eventually broke off of the group.
It was Booker T, Kevin Nash, Angle, Sting, Samoa Joe. Nigel McGuinness maybe, or Magnus, one of the two.
Magnus, that's who it is. It was Magnus. I couldn't think of who it was, but I remember he was in it, and they were building him up, and then he was the one that took over. Like he kind of led to the end of the Main Event Mafia, and actually was really cool. I loved watching TNA at that point. That was also when we had the 6-sided ring.
Dude, the 6-sided ring was chef's kiss.
I know. I'm glad that at least Triple H still has
it. So back to we left off at WrestleMania 31. Triple H and Sting faced off in a no DQ match. Tons of hijinks. It was very, very overbooked because they're, two guys in their 50s wrestling a match. Understandable. Appearances by DX and the NWO. And when I say NWO, I just mean Nash, Hogan, and Hall, not the other 712 members that they had. Triple H ultimately got the win after a sweet chin music from Shawn Michaels and a clock to the face with a sledgehammer. Which,
disgusting.
Granted, maybe not the best debut match. I thought it was a lot of fun. However, it didn't. The loss didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I digress. Later that year, Sting challenges Seth Rollins to a match for the WWE title. Rollins won, and Sting suffered a legitimate neck injury, forcing Sting out of action for what we thought was going to be forever, but ended up being a little over 5 years. That was his last match with WWE after having 3, I believe, in total. He had the match at WrestleMania. He had a tag match with Cena on an episode of Raw, and then the world title match. And then Sting was inducted into the Hall of Fame for WWE in 2016, so shortly after this all happened. His contract with WWE ended up running out in 2020. And then late in 2020, he decided, I'm going to show up somewhere else now. Debuts for AEW, assists Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin, who were being attacked by Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks. Since then, Sting has been aligned with Darby Allin the entire time. It competes in the ring a handful of times a year. Not all the time, but he does seem to like to jump off of shit still. He also was able to be a part of the Great Muta's final match, He teamed up with the Great Muta and Darby Allin in the very last match of Great Muta's career to defeat Akira, Hakushi, and Naomichi Marufuji. I hope I said those right. As we all know right now, Sting is still a part of AEW. We don't know exactly when he's going to call it a day. However, he's been making hints at it, and I think the perfect person to retire him would be Darby Allin, honestly. I think that's where we are. It doesn't have to be a rivalry. It can just be a friendly retirement match.
It doesn't even need to be a retirement match. It just needs to be Darby turns heel and just uses Sting to do it, and then that's how Sting leaves. And it should happen at All In. That's where I think it should happen.
Soon.
I think it should happen there because it's on a big stage. Like that's something huge that would be happening over there.
Right. That's very true. So I know this. You can never actually sit and talk about every single thing that a person like Sting has done in their career because he's done so fucking much. So that was kind of a abridged version, but you can't talk about Sting without talking about Sting in the NWO. So I had to dive into that. Can't talk about Sting without talking about Ric Flair. So I had to dive into that. This is the part where we kind of go into a roundtable discussion about our own personal opinions on the wrestler Sting. And I think Scalz should be the one to lead this section. So we're going to start with his in-ring ability. Scalz.
So he's not the best in-ring competitor, but his matches always flowed. Like, you knew what he was going to do. Like, he was very methodical in how he was. So my overall rating for his in-ring ability is going to be a 7. And I just love how he evolved from the original Surfer Sting throughout his entire career.
So you're going to say a 7. Okay. See, I was a little more generous. I said a 9. And I based that off of the fact that a lot of it has to do with what you said. He was so consistently good, and at the peak of his career in the late 90s, he was as good as anybody, honestly. He was as good as anybody, a consummate professional. He could do a little bit of everything.
I guess the recency bias of how he's wrestling in AEW has kind of hurt it for me. Because at his age, he doesn't need to be doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll bump it up to an 8. You are right.
Okay. What do you think, Sean?
I agree with Scalz on for his first rating. I'll give him a 7. And I agree with him that he 60. What is he? 64 years old now. Shouldn't have to be jumping off of ladders into tables that Sammy Guevara moved out of at the wrong time. So, but a 7 because he is, like you said, very methodical. He has a little technical to him too. So that mixed in would just be like a perfect rating at a 7 out of 10.
Fair enough. Shadow, what do you think, man?
What's the overall question? I was changing into the chat here.
His in-ring ability.
We're right on on Sting's in-ring ability.
5.7.
That's a very specific number.
That's Shadow for you. You know him with those.
He's just in here to push your buttons, I think.
Yeah, most likely.
So we'll move on.
That's not me.
We'll move on to his promo ability, Scalz.
This man can cut a promo with the best of them. No matter what is going on, starting with that scathing promo from Monday Night Raw to everything after that, it's just been nonstop top tier. So I'm giving him a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow. I say an 8. Just because as a heel, unless he was with the Main Event Mafia, there were times when he went heel, at least kind of, where I just didn't buy it. I don't buy Sting as a heel. I buy him as an anti-hero or babyface. Like, I don't really buy him as a heel at all. But as a babyface, he does cut really good babyface promos, as good as just about anybody else does. So I'd say an 8. Sean?
I'm gonna give him a 9 because babyface promos really fucking good, and no matter what character he's portraying in his Sting character, he can make you believe it. Like, I really implore you to like go re-watch everything that Joker Sting did, because he really played off like he was the Joker. Like you made him think. You really thought he was going crazy. That's how good like Joker Sting was in TNA. So for me, it's a 9. But I do agree with you on like the heel stuff. But babyface and everything else for me, that's what really gives him a 9.
Okay. Shadow.
I wish you would have just stayed silent. It was more entertaining. I'll give him a 6.
It's coming for you, Shadow.
So, all right. We'll move on
opinion.
to babyface work. Scalz.
Where
He's
did
gone.
he
Did
go?
you take him out?
I did not. I
He's back.
absolutely did not. It must have done it on its own because he got put back in here.
All right. What do you think about Sting's babyface work?
Babyface work 10. Where's he going?
10.
Just the like, even as Surfer Sting, like just everything he did, the way he was a crowd fan favorite, he always played off the crowd. He used to do the with the chest smacks, and he would start like hulking up almost, where he would eat it. Like he was the ultimate babyface. Like nothing could ever take him off of that. So I'm giving him a 10 on that one.
And he was good at being a dominant babyface and an underdog if he needed to be an underdog. Like, I don't know if any person personifies WCW as much as Sting does. And because of that, I say a 10 also. Sean?
I know it's not him particularly, but when he comes out to the entrance and Tony Schiavone just goes, "It's Sting!" Just the chills I get, and just the whole babyface aura to that introduction. Like I said previously, I'm going to keep it at a 9. But this whole aura about Sting when he's a babyface is amazing.
The first time Schiavone did that with him in AEW, it was just I got
when he
chills.
debuted, I screamed like
He kicked me.
I did not. I didn't touch it. Stop it.
Shadow?
You're asking his in-ring. What was his
Baby
base
face.
work, correct?
Babyface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Sting growing up because, again, I don't care for the character at all. But his babyface work, I would give him a solid hard 6.5.
You probably
I will
thought
say this.
he was going where I thought he was going where you probably thought he was going to go with that.
Probably. Going back to what Sean said really quick.
There you go.
Nice. Going back to what Sean said about like the that Sting carries with him, I had never seen Sting in person before until last year, and I went to a Blood and Guts show in Detroit, and they filmed Rampage right after, and they did that Royal Rampage. The first person to enter that match was Darby Allin, and when Darby Allin came out, Sting came out with him, and I'm like, we're lower level, we're close, we can see, and like I'm just like, holy fuck, that's Sting. like I'm 26, I was 27 when this happened, and I'm marking out like a little kid because I grew up watching Sting, in his later years with WCW and then TNA, and I'd never, he's right there. He's 20, 30 feet away from me, and I'm like, he's larger than life when he's there. It's incredible.
That's exactly how I felt seeing the first time seeing Sting at WrestleMania 31. I mean, I was never really a WCW guy, but I watched him all through TNA, and I never got the chance to see him live. And just from the entrance to the match itself is like, wow, this is fucking Sting. So he just has that pull about him.
Oh yeah.
So when I was younger, my brother knew somebody who used to wrestle in the Indies in Jersey. So I used to go to the different shows and meet all these wrestlers. But when I went down to Disney, WCW was they were taping their shows in MGM. So I went to a show, sat front row. First time I ever saw Sting wrestle. Insane. It's just the way he carried himself. And that was the same time that I actually saw The Big Show. That time. And I was a little shrimp, nothing, looking up at a 7-foot guy holy shit, this guy can eat me.
So you only grew a foot?
Damn. Yeah, I mean, growing up, me and my buddies, we all had the WCW versus NWO video games, and I had this plush pillow thing, whatever you want to call it, of Sting. I had one of Sting, and I had one of
the Wrestler Buddies.
I think I had Lex Luger was the other one. I don't remember. It was someone who was blonde, but I think it was Lex Luger. I know I had the Sting one because it was Crow Sting, and yeah. God, it was Lex Luger sucked though. Anyways,
he actually didn't He actually was pretty good, but later on in his career, he got injured and everything else. Yep.
Anyways, Sting's heel work. Scalz.
This is the one downfall for me on his career. I'm gonna give his heel work a 5. It was not. I know with Main Event Mafia, he was more of a the middle type of heel. He wasn't a full-fledged, but he was better. His career was so much better with the babyface and the anti-hero as opposed to the heel. So it's a 5.
Right. See, I agree with that sentiment, but I gave him a 3. Sean, I'm not even gonna.
You read my mind because I was gonna give him a 3 as well. I've never really seen truly I mean, obviously I watched all through Main Event Mafia. I watched all through TNA, and I've never seen Sting really be a heel, even when he was supposed to be a heel. I just never felt like he was a heel to me. I felt like he was just kind of in between. So even when they tried to turn him heel in WCW, it didn't work. And for me, that's why he gets a 3.
Y'all are crazy. That's a solid 9 heel work. That man is great as a heel. I don't know what you guys are on.
Oh man.
Moving on,
Nate. Let's go.
So we'll pretty much get to his overall body of work now. So take his in-ring, his promo, his babyface heel work, all together, his overall body of work. What do you think, Scalz?
Solid 9.
A 9?
Yeah, solid 9.
Okay.
He's had such a great career. It's the longevity of it. He'll be able to. Unfortunately, the injury that he missed for those 5 years probably could have. The run he probably could have had in WWE if he did not get injured. I'm quite curious of what that would have been. I think he would have won a championship at some point. And I'm sad we missed out on that.
Yeah, unfortunate that's how that went. But I also give him a 9 in that you could put Sting on the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, and I wouldn't question you for it. Like, that's legitimately the kind of impact that this guy has had on wrestling as a whole. He's worked for every major promotion in the Western Hemisphere. WWE, WCW, Impact, AEW. He's worked for all of them. Yeah.
I was going to say the only thing that I wish that would have happened is he would have won a belt in every one of them. But he never got that WWE belt, so that can't happen.
Right, and he's probably not going to get one in AEW either. Oh, excuse me. But Sean, what do you think?
I'm gonna be the one that gives him a 10 through his whole body of work, the way he's able to constantly reinvent himself. Like, you have the Surfer Sting going into Crow Sting. You would see him as the NWO red and black face paint Sting to TNA Sting, where he was still Sting, but then he would switch it up with a little bit of face paint, and then to match what his character at the time, and then he would do the Main Event Mafia, where he had no face paint, and then just do a complete 180 and become a psychopath and do the Joker Sting with the Joker face paint, and then going into AEW, because WWE was kind of just he was kind of just Sting, but in the AEW he would mentor obviously Darby Allin, and when they have matches together, if it's like a big pay-per-view or something, he would paint half his face like Darby and then half his face like Sting. So he would always do like minor changes to keep a fresh kind of like TV presence. So for me, overall would be like 10.
Fair enough. Shadow, do I dare ask?
So in the 90s, if you ask me, Sting was that golden child, or excuse me, 80s, I'll start there, was that golden child with the beach body, blonde hair, bullshit. He was the preppy boy. Then in the 90s, he became a discount version of The Undertaker with face paint. And then he goes into the 2000s with TNA and does this Joker stuff. And yeah, cool, I'm a Joker fan and all, but he only did it because it was trendy. The role was psychotic. He looked like Joker, but acted like Harley Quinn. All right. And then you go into 2010 run in WWE and stuff like that. And quite honestly, he was too old to be there. He put up matches that he didn't need to be there for. He should have been. We got that DX and NWO bullshit with Sting and Triple H. That should have been done 15 years prior. It just had no place on that card, and it was there as oh my god, we're finally seeing it. But they're all geriatric motherfuckers at that point. And then you have Sting in AEW, where he serves no purpose other than being a high-spotted flyer for no reason, when he's never really done that in his career. So for that, I'm giving his body of work overall a 4.9.
I don't think I ever met someone as critical as Sting as Shadow. Damn.
Yeah.
It's because he knows that's my favorite wrestler. So he's doing it to try and get me.
I'll just give my honest opinion. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
What, Scalz, what is your favorite moment from Sting's career?
So there's quite a few. When he won his first world championship off of Ric Flair, the first time he rappelled down from the ceiling in the trench coat and then just got in the face of the NWO with the bat, and then when he debuted his new music and he had the Vulture come down and stand on the ring ropes. Like, those would be my 3 favorite moments. And yes, they all are all from WCW.
The only time he was relevant.
It's not true. He was very relevant in TNA.
Okay. What I would say, honestly, this might sound kind of lame, but my favorite thing that ever happened with Sting for me was probably his debut in WWE, just because I never thought I would see it. And maybe it's recency bias, even though it was almost 10 years ago. I don't know, but I just remember freaking out, jumping all over the place, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Even if they bungled it later, but that would be mine. Sean?
Like Scalz, I have a few moments. One would be him rappelling down from the rafters and facing off the NWO. This is more unpopular, but his time with the if you know me, like everything, it has to do with Wolfpack. So his time with the NW Wolfpack, I just thought like that was one of the coolest fucking factions. They had the entrance music, they had the attitudes, just the swag about them. Sting coming out with that red and black face paint and the goatee. And then
That was the
like,
first time he ever had the goatee.
yeah,
Was with the Wolfpack. He never had it before that.
He looked just so fucking badass, like red and black. But the third one would be like what Nate said, him joining WWE, and fourth would be his feuds in TNA with like his matches with Kurt Angle. He put on some bangers with Kurt Angle, so I would have to say like a lot of his time in TNA was my favorite moments.
Fair enough. Shadow.
His retirement. Okay, I'll give you an actual honest one, even though it was good too. But probably his repelling and showing up in WWE.
I gotta give Shadow credit for that one. That was funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Excuse me. So, what do you say is your favorite match that Sting was ever a part of? Scalz?
It would be when he won his first championship against Ric Flair.
Fair enough. Personally, I really liked the War Games match between the group of people that he got together and the Dangerous Alliance in, I think it was 92. That was bonkers. Larry Zbyszko was still wrestling back then.
Wow, Zbyszko.
And then I also really, the first TNA pay-per-view I ever got to watch was actually Bound for Glory 2009, I think. And it was AJ Styles versus Sting. And that match was a fucking banger. Sean?
It's hard to choose. I'm gonna have to go like what you said, Sting and AJ Styles, or his matches with Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and the Monsters Ball match he had with the Abyss. Like,
I forgot about that one. That was a good match.
Do I dare ask Shadow?
I got two. Beach Blast 92, Cactus Jack versus Sting.
Yeah.
And my other one is the night that Diamond Dallas Page became a household name. So there's my two. And I'm not even being an asshole.
I'm so glad no one said RoboCop. So,
and if you're wondering what year that was, Nate, it was I think 96. No, 99.
DDP would have been like 99 probably.
Yeah, it was 90. It was Nitro in 99. My bad.
Fucking love DDP, man.
DDP is
amazing. That's the night that Diamond Dallas Page became a household name.
It wasn't. It wasn't Ready to Rumble.
That's my shtick.
I don't know. I feel like. I feel like Sting and RoboCop could have made a run at the tag titles. I'm just saying.
I honestly think.
What would you like to see from Sting before he decides to hang it up and call it a career? Scalz.
I'd like to see him pass the torch one more time. This time to
Darby.
Hey, make him have a good solid push before he goes.
I could agree with that. I could see him putting Darby Allin over. Darby Allin is, he's been one of the most popular guys on the roster the whole time he's been in AEW. Being with Sting has only enhanced that. As long as Jeff Jarrett is nowhere to be found when this happens, then yes, I'm okay with that. Because I've said it once, I'll say it again. Fuck Jeff Jarrett. Fuck him super hard. Sean.
Since I know I'll never ever get my fucking match that I wanted, which is Sting versus Taker.
Taker, yep.
Which they could have done at WrestleMania 31, but just give Sting just a small. It doesn't have to be long, like a small one more title reign, like a championship reign, just one more, and he can retire, drop the title to whoever he's passing the torch to, whether it be Darby Allin or someone on one of the pillars or something.
It would have made sense for them to do that for the international title.
Yeah.
I was going to say, definitely that title.
That's the title it should have done. Yeah. And then even if he lost it to OC, and then OC went on this run after it,
it would have elevated
it's on him. Now, absolutely. Would have changed the entire elevation of the title.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Jamey, we'll get to you in just a second. I'll have Shadow answer this question real quick, and then we'll have you do a quick little run through. Shadow, what would you like to see from Sting before he retires?
Hopefully not his fucking funeral the way he's going with wrestling. Jesus Christ.
I think he's hanging out with Darby too much.
I just want to see him stop wrestling before he hangs it up for good. He doesn't need to be doing it. He never had to. Him and Bret Hart.
Jamey,
him and Bret Hart remind me of each other.
Sorry.
That one I know was a joke. Okay.
No. I don't know if you know what's been going on tonight with Shadow.
Oh, he does. But anyway, let Jamey answer.
Oh, yeah, he told me. Jamey, why don't you give us a quick little run through about Sting from your point of view? His in-ring ability, promo, babyface, heel work, overall body of work.
So the thing about Sting is, he wasn't always the flashiest guy. He wasn't always the most talkative guy, the most promo guy, but he had a character that just, was just revolutionary to a point where, he had the body, he had the look, everything like that, and he was able to reinvent himself as time goes and kind of within the different eras that he was in, kind of adapt to the style of the era and kind of make himself into what he decided to do for his own character. Like even in TNA, you've seen him pretty much change his character 3 times to the point where he kind of stayed relevant, kind of like Jericho does, but and still staying true to what Sting is as a character, at least from 90 something on. With Sting, he's, a fan favorite. He has, again, that look that just makes him transcend. And then very prestigious, everything like that. He works well in a group, works well as a single, and he's a good mentor to the next generation of guys, as you're seeing right now with Darby Allin. So Sting all around is a 10 out of 10 professional wrestler. And, the ring work, isn't a 10. The promo ability isn't a 10. But when you put the whole package of what Sting was together, he was pretty much one of the perfect professional wrestlers out there. So with that being said, before Sting finally hangs up the boots, I do want to see him pass down that torch to Darby Allin.
I think we all would agree with that. I think the only thing with me is I don't want Darby Allin to continue dying all the time.
It's like Kenny in South Park.
He's a good. Yeah. Darby Allin's a good wrestler. Darby Allin is a very good worker, but dude, chill.
Mhm.
If he doesn't, his career won't last much longer because his body. It's going to be like he's going to be the new Jeff Hardy.
He's trying to do too much jackassy stuff, like inside the ring.
He does that shit way more than Jeff Hardy ever did. Like, it wasn't every night with Jeff Hardy. It's almost every time Darby wrestles, he does something stupid.
You got to remember, it wasn't big as it is now. Like, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy and Edge and Christian were the ones that innovated it.
Mm-hmm.
So they just started doing it. Imagine if Jeff Hardy
Braun
was
Strowman
young.
called it flippy dippy wrestling.
Imagine if Jeff Hardy was young now, how often he would be doing it all.
Right. And the thing about it with the comparisons, you have Jeff Hardy, he's 30 years, 25 plus years in the business. At the rate Darby Allin's going, he might not even hit 15. So not even probably 10. So with that being said, there's also other factors. Darby is straight edge, other things like that. But even still, I mean, the bump card, there's a point where there's no more bumps in the bump card. And that applies to everybody. So if you use up all your bumps before year 7, then sorry.
You're done. You're done. So before we sign off, a couple of things. I think as far as, a lot of the people that we've covered so far, Sting was definitely a very prolific one. I honestly, one of the faces of professional wrestling, period, not just of the 80s or the 90s, but of all time. His legacy is one of those legacies like John Cena's, or we'll say Stone Cold's, not Hulk Hogan, because fuck Hulk Hogan. There's some legacies that are just untouchable, and his is one of them. Sting, Flair, despite how stupid he is too sometimes, for some reason his legacy has not been tarnished. Cena, Austin, guys like that. He's legitimately left that much of an impact on this business. So is there anything that anyone else feels like they want to add before we sign off tonight?
I want to say, if you can find it online or somewhere, there's a really good movie back in the mid 2000s about, it's like a kind of like a documentary, but it's also like a movie-esque movie about, and it's starring Sting, and it's about his life and how he got into wrestling, and it goes up to his TNA days. But it's like a biopic, but done in like, it's really good. It's called The Moment of Truth, I believe. And that's where I really kind of actually fell in love with the character Sting as well. It talks about his struggles with drugs and alcohol, and then him turning to a life of religion. And it's just a really good movie.
Are you talking about Revelation Road?
No, it's called Moment of Truth.
Revelation Road was that it was like a 3-part movie series or whatever. It was about 2-part. It was really good, but it was about like the rapture and being left behind, stuff like that. It was actually pretty cool. Scared me as a kid growing up, but just being Southern Baptist growing up. But
was Sting in that movie?
Sting was.
No, I'm talking about Sean.
In Revelation Road?
No. The one you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. He stars in the movie, yes.
The movie's called Sting, Moment of Truth.
Yes.
I don't see it on his...
Interesting.
On his...
Well, he had a book,
IMDb.
And then they made a movie from the book.
Yeah, I just found it on IMDb.
Yeah, I had it on DVD, so I don't know how hard it is to find now.
It came out in 2004.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll have to look into that. Scalz, where can we find you, man?
So you can find me here on Off the Top, between here, YouTube. They're both at Off the Top Media, Twitch, and Twitter and TikTok is Off the Top Media _.
Okay. Sean, where can we find you?
You can find me on TikTok, the Alpha Wolf Sean B. TikTok, the Alpha Wolf Sean B 2.0. I mean, backup, and also Alpha Wolf Sean B 3.0 because I keep getting banned. Soon, once we get our username changed, now that we're officially a part of Rivet City Radio, the Table Spot on TikTok and on Instagram, the Alpha Wolf Sean B 2.0. It's a blue check mark. Yes, I paid for it. Whatever. But and just copy my click on my links and support all that stuff.
Heck yeah. Jamey, my man, where can we find you?
So obviously you can find me here Monday nights, Friday nights here Off the Top Media, and other Rivet City Radio branded events. You can also find me at your local indie wrestling event and doing whatever is needed within the Diamond State Wrestling community. Anyways, with that being said, the hung us to the Bucks. Wrestling event.
Guys, you can find me. Oh God.
I don't know why you bought me in. It wasn't trying to come in, but anyhow.
Because I want you to give us where we can find you.
You can find me not giving a fuck. Don't throw this to me. Nate, close it out.
How did I know that was coming?
Oh God. You can find me cuddling with Will Gray later tonight. Anyway, no. You can find me at Nate McNamara WB on TikTok. I have a link tree in my bio for my socials. Don't add me if I don't fucking know you. Before we sign off, quick little announcement. 2 weeks from now, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I'm sure Sammy is going to be super excited about this. We are going to take on the Legend Killer, the Viper, the Apex Predator, the guy with the broken back, Randy.
Bob Orton?
We'll see you.
Fuck.
What's that?
I said Bob Orton?
Nope. Randy Orton. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for Career Retrospective. Be sure to tune in. What's going on tomorrow, Scalz?
Tomorrow night, right after Raw, we have our Friday night review with myself, Jamey, and Cam.
Raw.
On Saturday, we will have the return of Prince's Movie Madness. And then on Sunday, over on our sister channel on Bot Spots and Chair Shots, they have one of their shows. And then the debut of the Table Spot. Right, Sean? That's this Sunday?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
There you go.
Raw.
Make sure to
Everybody.
make sure you check out our Patreon and our merch links.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you very soon. Have a good
Friday
night.
Night Raw.